Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Today is Thursday, September 23rd. I've been running with this iPhone that I have currently in my pocket, now in my hand. I want to say for about maybe close to 4 years. Close to it. It's the iPhone XS. I believe I got it in 2018, so 22 next year would be the 4th year of it. And I gotta say, I remember when I first upgraded, like to this phone. Before that, I had a 6 Plus. And from what I can remember, is that was like the generation of phone that first people saw it bend within their pocket. They can do it with their hands on purpose. They would notice that bend like around the volume buttons. And I remember like when I first bought mine, I was like, oh, please don't bend. Like, and it was like one of the it was one of the phones the first iPhones that was so thin and smooth, and it had like a curved edges, and it was nice and sleek, and the button was different, and the camera was better. It was one of the first phones, I believe, that had like the camera that kind of bulged out of the back of the phone, and like so you couldn't really lay it down flat on its side anymore, or on that side anymore. That was another big gripe about that, but I remember the bend was one of the bigger gripes of it. I still bought it. I bought the plus size one, the 6 Plus, when it first came out, and I didn't notice it, but until I upgraded, I saw like, oh, I got a slight bend in it. And I was like, oh shit, well, at least I got a new phone. That's not gonna happen. But I also remember like when I was about to upgrade, when I was about to get a new phone, the phone that I had at that time was getting slower and slower. The battery was terrible. Apps would crash. It couldn't really multitask. Very slow. I had to have a charger with me at all times because it just couldn't hold the charge now. Now with the XS that I have right now, and with on the horizon soon to come is the iPhone 13, with the other models that they have, 13 mini, 13 Plus Max, whatever that they have now. I gotta say, this phone right now is doing the job still. It hasn't slowed down, in my opinion. Apps move in and out of apps pretty fast. Opening the phone doesn't stutter, it doesn't skip, it doesn't hiccup. It doesn't really, and the battery is great as well. And I have no problem multitasking or playing video or playing music. It's really just like, I see no really need for me to upgrade. Now, sure, I might want a new phone, because, I remember, you would just want it because it had the better software, or you would able to get that same software, but of course, some features wouldn't work on your phone because it wouldn't have the capability of the chip inside, or it wouldn't be, it wouldn't have the best camera, it wouldn't have the best, gizmos and gadgets inside. Like, if you think about it now, one of the main things that the Apple iPhones, now they start to advertise them like, yes, it's a phone. Yes, that works. You can call people. Of course, you should be able to. It's a phone. You can send text messages. Yes, obviously, it's got to be able to do that. Now we have iMessage, which shows everybody who's, poor, who can't afford an iPhone, they have green text instead of blue. I'm just making a joke about that, but all your anti-iPhone people will have green text, and your iPhone will be like, you know what, we want to show the people that don't have an iPhone how scummy they are, so we're going to make their text now green, because they introduced with iMessage, now they come out blue. That was about maybe 7 years ago, I think, when that first came out. I was like, oh shit, blue now for the iPhone users? That's sick. Now green for all the Android plebs, or not plebs, but casuals, or those losers. I'm just kidding, of course. All people with any phone, in my eyes, are as equal as God intended. And, but, it's just, nowadays you see the advertisements, and you see the little, those trailers, the videos that they put out on their conferences of how the phone gets put together with all these layers of, metals and glass and gizmos and gears and drives and chips and batteries, and that all kind of goes, by me, and you just, what can you, if you're not into, engineering technology, or, phone engineering, or, microchip shit, or whatever, it's going to blow by you pretty fast, though. I mean, you always want to see how big is the battery going to be, because really that's all that matters, is how long can this thing last me for an entire day, or if it can last me in an entire day. I mean, right now, this phone, the XS, it does a pretty good job still. And I'm sure even now with the 12 at the moment, the 11 back then, the 13 coming up, they'll all have pretty good battery life. I don't think that we can really improve much in battery technology from phone to phone from time to time. I just don't think it's that possible. If the phones do tend to get thinner, which now they're actually thicker than they used to be. If you think about it, the 6 and the 7, I think were probably the thinnest phones that they've ever made. The 6, 7, and 8, I think, and then they skip 9, and the 10, I believe, is actually thicker. So it kind of back-treaded on that. A little bit of a trip down memory lane, blast from the past, getting thicker. THICC, and then so. But one of the big things is that we think about nowadays, and that we come to be accustomed with a smartphone or an iPhone, whatever you want to call it, is the camera. Now, I have the XS, so I got I got the dual camera with the flash in the middle, but now you got like 3 cameras. You can get 2 cameras. I think one of the phones is the cameras are diagonal now, the double lens, but it's like it's becoming like the phone is almost like we're just buying another portable camera, another portable device to record stuff in it, another portable, camera to just take photos. And it's like that. I feel like with that technology and cameras in general, if you think about it, whether it be Canon or Nikon, or JVC, whatever you want to call it, Sony, those are really expensive cameras, especially if you want a really high-end one. You can look up to maybe around like $2,000 to maybe $6,000 or $8,000, depending on what you want. So I'm just thinking, like, they're making these phones, like the iOS hasn't changed that much. The build is kind of similar. The battery is going to be bigger, depending on what size you get, right? You have the regular or the max version, whatever you want. But it's just like, I feel like the camera is taking up a lot of the bill and a lot of the space nowadays. It's like, I enjoy taking pictures with my camera on my phone when I'm out, like, on vacation with somebody I like, some friends or whatever. But that for me, that just kind of ends, and I'm just like, okay, it's just my phone now. I even sometimes forget that it is a camera, until I want to take a photo of something. But then it's like, yeah, it's convenient, but it's like I don't use my camera that often. So I feel like a lot of that pricing and a lot of that, and I don't know, inflation has got to be towards the camera, because you look at the camera and you watch that video that they play. Yeah, good old Apple will play. It's a sexy video. It's a great production. Looked like it took a lot of time into it. It's like there's so many damn like microscopic lenses in this thin ass phone. It's like no wonder it costs so much. No wonder it's so much, because the iOS, depending on if you're Apple or if you're an Apple guy, an Android guy, Google guy, whatever other phone you are, it's not the most high-end, high-tech, complicated operating system. It's pretty basic. You look at the first iPhone back in 2006, and then you look at this one, and not much has changed from the home screen. Not much has changed. There's no sliding arrow anymore. You can just swipe up whenever, but that's kind of like the general, like, the way of the culture now. Swipe up to see this, swipe up on TikTok, swipe up on Instagram Reels, swipe up on YouTube Shorts. It's just part of it. Like, it's great marketing. We know that motion so well now. So it's like, good on them, but it's very simple, very basic. You tap it, you unlock it, you get your apps right there. Boom, boom, boom. You don't got to go into a folder or a setting really to activate another app or do all that. No, it's all right there. You want to go to the clock, boom, right there. Settings right there, boom. Safari right there. Library right there. You can get social media right there. Your podcast right there. Spotify, music, whatever. It's all right there. It's unbelievable, right? So you got to wonder, well, if the operating system isn't that, sure, it's smoother, right? It runs better. And they always have this, whatever. The multitasking has never really been the actual multitasking, if you think about it, which I'm actually kind of happy about, because I've seen phones where you can make a screen. Half your screen would be a document, other half would be like a YouTube video, and you can type and text and do all that. And I'm thinking like, well, but it is a phone still. Like I don't want to make the small screen the small screen that I already have in my pocket even smaller for certain apps. I'm just not about that. I mean, I can see that on a laptop or a computer, but I'm like, I'm not going to do that on my phone. That's why I think that the multitasking that we have on the iPhone is the best one, because you can kind of go switch back between one app and another, and even a third, and just be able to do whatever you want, and it not to be a cluttery mess on your screen of multiple tabs or multiple screens or multiple apps open all at once. I just feel like that's not meant for a phone. Now, just because of the size of the screen already, it's just not meant for that. And I'm kind of happy about that, because I don't know, honestly, if I could ever convert to an Android phone. I just don't know if I can. I mean, I've seen them. I remember back in the day when you had the iPhone and you had a Droid. What side were you on? I remember there was this joke back in the day, I believe it was Daniel Tosh that said like an iPhone was like an Autobot, and then the Droid was a Decepticon. You had the commercial that said Droid, all in red lettering, and it was like, oh, that looks evil, kind of. But that's kind of funny, though. Now, that's a good comparison, because Transformers at the time was very popular back in the 2010s, and it's like the iPhones are very, coming out. Then you got the Droid. Perfect timing. Perfect joke, I think. Great joke, actually. It's fantastic. But I just kind of got that feeling like, yeah, Apple's so user-friendly, and so, like, all their apps are all approved by Apple. They're not going to give you some shitty virus-full app or, like, malware or whatever. Like, I always kind of, like, thought that, you would want that with your phone, like that you would prefer that with your phone. Like, yeah, I mean, Android is, it's more, for me, I've seen their phones, like, it's a bit more complicated and it's not as basic and simple, but maybe they like that. Maybe they like that little bit of more sophistication with their phones, their lock screens, and what they can do, customizing that. And maybe they just don't like Apple. Like, I think that's just also part of that, like, they just really don't enjoy Apple products, and they don't want it. And they're like, I don't want Apple. I'm like, why? I mean, I never really understood why they wouldn't want, like, everything with Apple, because it makes everything so easy. I mean, if you got an Apple phone or iPhone, iPad, MacBook, Apple Watch, you can literally connect everything that you have, whether it be music, TV, photos, videos. You can connect them all with those devices through, like, the beauty of AirDrop. I mean, AirDrop is one of the best things that I think Apple has ever invented to this day, because you can send video, photo, anything, document with such, good speed and the best clarity. Like, I remember, like, you would send back in the day before AirDrop, if you were far away or you had bad service, you could send a picture and it would look like crap on messaging, iMessaging, even iMessaging back then. So AirDrop became like a big savior in that way of transferring data through the cloud and all that. So that's a big plus. And I just think that if you look at an iPhone and you're like, oh, it's so easy, it's so nice, I love the animations. Like, when you send a text message or an iMessage in your iPhone, and it just does that little bloop sound, and it looks like it jumps off from the text thing, and then makes a little animation on there, and it's so satisfying. Now, again, I'm sure Android might have that, something like that, but I just feel like it's never really come close to how nice and simple and appealing it is on an iPhone. Plus, yeah, I remember back when you would have either your cell phone and your iPod with you at the same time. Once you get an iPhone, it's like, I got both of them in one device. I'm all good, man. Like, we're fine. We're good. I mean, like, that was just a game changer back then, because I don't think you had that much space on Android phones, and you also didn't have you couldn't really download your music as efficient as you could with iTunes back then, because you had an iTunes library. So that all integrated so well and so easy and so simple that you can just have your phone, your contacts, your pictures, your email, and your music all in one place. I don't know, it's just kind of how I thought about it. Now, like, you upgrade every year, whether you want to or not. You're always going to get the same thing, but it isn't it's not annoying, and it's not, for me, it's not it's never unwelcome. It's always welcome. It's a welcome upgrade. Whether you're due for one, or you even want one, or maybe you don't even want one, but you get the new software anyway. Like, I'm on the 10s. I'm probably not going to get the 13. Like, I've seen them, I like them, I enjoy them, but I'm like, my phone right now is still very, very good. It runs well and everything. I don't need another one. Like, I remember when I was in high school, right? And back then, the phones were much cheaper than they were today. Like, I'll give you that. Back in 2010, 2011, they were a lot cheaper than they are today. But even still, though, these people would be upgrading their phone every single year. And I'm like, bro, how do you do that? Like I get it. Like, yeah, your parents do it, but it's like, Jesus Christ, you don't need that new phone. You can do everything you want with it. The other one from the previous year. And it's just like, damn, I mean, I guess maybe my parents like poor, and I'm like, no, we're not poor. It's just we don't think that it's a good investment. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. And you learn about that as time goes on. You learn like, oh yeah, I mean, like, I've seen the new phone, I heard about it, but my phone is good still. It's good. And you got to be able to make that decision for your own. Like, of course I want the newest thing, right? Of course I want the newest gizmo, the newest gadget, the newest technology. But it's like, if my thing can do everything that it can, the new ones can, maybe a little bit worse, maybe not as sharp or as fast, I'm just going to stick with it because it benefits me financially. And that's a part of growing up, man. That's part of growing up. And I think that the phone, the phone business is one of the bigger things that we see. Like, oh, we don't need the newest model. And they come out with cars every year too. Like, I have a 2017 Honda, but I'm not gonna get the newest one every year either. That's just dumb. I mean, the car's built to last longer than 1 year, right? I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. What I always kind of like was puzzled though was, like, if you break your iPhone, or if you so there's a malfunction, or there's some kind of bug in it and whatever, you can't really take it to anybody else but Apple to fix it. Like, because, like, you can't really take it apart because they don't sell the tools to take it apart, and like, they kind of want you to make you buy their insurance or make you buy their coverage, which is already going to be added to more with how much the phone is going to cost already, which is already outrageous in the first place. But it's like, damn, like, now I can't like go to like some third party person to fix my iPhone because they legitimately cannot get into it because they don't have the tools for it. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are doing it illegally, but it's like, damn. I don't know if, like, I just wish that you could take it to some place and like fix it, like kind of like how you do with cars. Like, you can take it to some other mechanic and not the dealership, especially, even though like there's some mechanics that will scam you. But if you know somebody who's like, no bullshit, I like you, I'm going to help you out and do this, do that for you, it's like, why not? It's just, it makes your life easier. Even you remember like my story about going to Geek Squad and having the worst experience of my technological life. Just, these people just not, the way that they do their thing is not how you thought it was. And, just, wow, I don't know. It's just bizarre, like, how little we have in control of the things that we buy. Did you get the warranty? Did you get this? Did you get that? Did you get the coverage? I think that there's a thing that if on iPhones, if you don't break it, or if it breaks on its own, you can get another one for free. Like, I think that might be a thing, or it might be wrong. I'm not sure. But also, there's like accidental coverage, or it's like getting insurance on your phone though. It's like, and it's, I don't know. It's just, it's weird how we do that. How we insure phones, and it's like, you insure a phone, so now you can be a little bit more reckless with your phone. Right now you get, I don't have to worry about it because if I break it, I'll get another one for, discount price or free, because I'm paying the insurance. But it's like, but if you don't pay the insurance and you're just a little bit more careful, and you never break it, maybe then you'll be saving money, but you just gotta be a little bit more careful. Like, I think when I had my 6, I didn't have any insurance on it. This one I did. I think I had like a protection plan for like maybe 2 years. Maybe. I can't remember. But I remember the first one I bought, I did not have any insurance. And before that was the iPhone 4. I had no insurance on it. And I was just super careful. I had a case on it at all times. I never dropped it. And I have a tile kitchen. I never dropped any of my phones once. And that's like, I've seen the videos back in the day. Now, they claim the phones are getting stronger with, I think first it was Gorilla Glass, and then they got like sapphire in their glass or whatever, and like they're supposed to be stronger or whatever. But like you still see cracked screens, shattered screens. It's like, okay, well, what did you do? Drop a bowling ball on it? Like, what did you do? But it's like I've always been very, very careful with my smartphone, my iPhone. I've just always took it to be like, this is like my, if I'm in trouble, my lifeline. This is who I'm going to call if I'm in trouble. Or, how to contact with people. Like, I can't have this thing break on me by my fault. If it breaks, it's got to be like a malfunction or something like that. So I've always been very careful with that. Anything that I have, Xbox, laptop, tablet, iPhone, I've just been a very, very careful person. But yeah, so like seeing these new iPhones come out, it always like, I always question like, with the phones that we have today, who really needs that right now when it comes out? Unless you're still rocking the iPhone 8, and you want to get a phone without a home button, a bigger screen, less bezels. Yeah, sure, go ahead, check it out, get it for the first time. Like my mother has an iPhone 8, and I'm like, sooner or later, man, or mom, you're gonna be like, this phone is old, but I don't want to get a phone without a button. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but this is just how it is now. There's no more home button. You got to just swipe up all the time, which, when I first got my 10S, I was like, what if it starts to malfunction when you can't swipe up? Luckily, that has never, ever been a problem with my phone. It's never done that. It's never hiccuped with the swiping up to get out of an app or to, multitask or whatever. It's always been very responsive. So that's a big plus because, I mean, imagine if that had, problems, right? That had like it wasn't responsive or it would just break all the time, and that would be a problem. But since that is, being without a button is like, you gotta have something that is as reliable as an actual button, and it's been like that. It's been good. It's been reliable, which is good. You never want to have a product, and luckily Apple's always been a very trustworthy product that you can buy out there that is not going to half-ass their technology, not going to half-ass their product or their apps even. Apple really is a great product. I'm not trying, no free ads, but it's just good. It's always been reliable to me, and I got to give credit where credit is due. We're talking about Apple, right? The phones and all that, but I kind of want to talk about Apple TV Plus for just a bit. I watch one show on that. Soon to be two, but I'm watching one show on that. And if you've been watching the news lately, or if you've been keeping up with TV shows or on that, you might have heard of the show called Ted Lasso. Now, I did talk about it last year on my previous older podcast, Out of the Ordinary Friends, back in the day, but I never really got really in depth about it, of what it is really about, or like how it's going, or what I think of it, really. Not super in depth. I gave like a brief, like, you should check it out. It's very good. It's actually kind of surprising, but like nothing really too in depth about it. And now that we're here, since the Emmys just happened last weekend, and if you didn't know, Ted Lasso like pretty much swept all the Emmy comedy awards, winning Best Lead Actor and Jason Sudeikis, Best Supporting Actress and Hannah Waddingham, Best Supporting Actor and Brett Goldstein, and the best comedy overall, which is in my opinion highly, highly deserving, because if you haven't been checking out Ted Lasso, if it's been eluding you, if you heard people talking about it and like saying it's very good or very bad, or like you should probably check it out, for the most part I've heard like a lot of positivity around it, and I can contribute to part of that positivity. I think it's an incredible show. I think it really just boils down to the comedy, the The drama aspects, the fish out of water thing, they play it so well. The characters are extremely likable. Like, all of them are very, very likable. They're very relatable as well. There's a lot of real world issues that can arise, and just maybe a common issue there, here and there. But it's awesome, and I know a lot of you are thinking, like, especially in America, oh, it's about soccer. I don't want to watch the show about soccer. Like, some guy going to London, England to coach European soccer. No, for me, I enjoy soccer, so it's not like it wasn't that big of a leap. But I can see if you might be hesitant about it because you don't really know that much about soccer or the culture in England. But it's really not that hard to get into. It's actually, the soccer, it sometimes takes a backseat to it, which is, good and bad in my opinion, but more for the good, because it really is what about comedy and these characters and their relationships with one another and like how they, go about their daily lives. And it's actually, it's very heartwarming, and it makes you feel like they're part of your family. It's so weird to say that, but it's like, it's got that really homey feel to it and friendly feel. Like, it's got all that. Got that heart, and that's got that love. And it's just, you can tell, like, Sudeikis and Brendan Hunt really, when they write the show, they really were like, you know what, let's make this show, like, super positive, very heartwarming, and very character driven, that it's like, it's pretty much like what everybody needs right now. And I know you probably see, like, articles or headlines like Ted Lasso is what you need this year in the pandemic, because when it came out last May, I believe, was in the heart of the pandemic, and when it was at, like, pretty much, worst of the worst. But it was a bright light of content, and it was a bright light of humor, comedy, and just, all out fun. It's a fun show. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see, like, how Ted Lasso navigates through being in Europe and being a soccer coach, and how he's got to do all that. And it's got a lot of lessons that you can learn, and a lot of philosophical quotes that Ted Lasso just spouts off every episode. And it's just like, wow, that's amazing how he thinks that way. Or that's amazing how that he thought about that in that situation. I guess if you don't like thinking too positive, you might not like it. Like, if you're like, oh, this can't happen, or, oh, this is not how it works, maybe you wouldn't like it. Maybe it could be, I can see it being a little too positive for some people. But if you're all for that, if you want to see that, if you want to be, fired up, if you don't care about, like, how people, over positivity, over joy, or whatever, I think you'll like it. I really do. And it's not to bash on some people who don't, gravitate towards that. It's really not. It's just like, if you enjoy all that stuff that I just said, you might like it. And and especially now that it's in its second season, getting towards the end of the second season, and they're gonna make a third season. I can't wait, man. I can't wait, because the first season was great. The second season so far is great. So I'm like, this is doing a great job. Like, this isn't hiccuping or stuttering or, like, too repetitive or all that. It's just, it's very, very good. I think I gave it like an 8.8 for season 1, I think, last year, and it might teeter a little bit here or there. I'm not too sure yet. I have to see the end of the season, obviously, but it's definitely, in my opinion, worth a watch. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably don't even have Apple TV Plus, or don't know what's on there. And if you're wondering, if you're interested, I highly, highly, highly recommend Ted Lasso. I believe Apple TV Plus at the moment on, like, each device. So if you have an iPhone or whatever, it's like, I think it's $4.99. It's like pretty much like it's like a subscription to Apple Music. You just go to this, you tap in the app, and you can just pay for it right then and there. I think you get like a week trial for free. So if you don't like it, you can cancel it. So yeah. That's pretty much it. I got my dad into it, too. My dad is not a very big TV show guy, but I got him into it this year, and he pretty much binged the entire season 1 and is already caught up on season 2, and he loves it. He loves it so much, and it's like, yeah, I actually got my dad into a show. That's badass. Because he's very much a movie guy. Like, he's like, I don't got time for shows. I don't want to wait a week. I don't want to have to watch all these episodes to see what happens. He's very much in favor of the movie format, of it being like a 2.5 hour format of it telling an entire story and then it being done. He's very much into that. And I'm like, well, Dad, it's a TV show. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, episodic, maybe half an hour to 45 minutes an episode. He's like, okay, I'll check it out. But he ended up loving it. I'm like, yeah. So we talk about it. We converse about it. We're like, we like this about it. We don't like this about it. It's like, we didn't see that coming. We saw this coming. It's great to watch with family as well, or talk with your friends. It pretty much checks all the boxes if you want to watch a show and then talk about it with somebody. It's the best. I love it. It's very good. Moving on. After I've been gushing about Apple and Apple's product, including Ted Lasso, which again is kind of weird because I remember it was a commercial about NBC Sports, about them getting the Premier League. So it's weird because when you watch Ted Lasso, one last bit, I promise. It says a Warner Media production, an Apple TV Plus original, based on a character by NBC. So, like, there are so many things and loopholes that they had to go through to get this show to work and to make the show. It's crazy. But that's just how it is. That's how. It's not always that complicated, I think, but it's always, especially because everybody wants to own everything now. If you think about it, people will buy shows from another network and just make it their own and make it better. I remember you guys remember YouTube Red or YouTube Originals or whatever, that they would actually make TV shows. Like they made Cobra Kai. Now that's owned by Netflix, so that's technically a Netflix original, right? They can put the Netflix original there now because they bought it from YouTube. It's crazy. But anyway, moving on. We're here to talk about Call of Duty Vanguard. The beta just happened, right? And it was pretty basic, but I enjoyed it. Right? Like I said in the previous episode, how much I love the Call of Duty Modern Warfare movement. I enjoy that, and I love World War II. A lot of people don't nowadays. They're bored of it. They're tired of it. Whatever that may be. I enjoy media and entertainment taking place in World War II. Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, Vanguard, Battlefield, whatever it may be, Enlisted. I enjoy that. Right? I'm not trying to get twisted with saying I'm a fan of World War II. I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. I think you got to clarify that up, because if you say like I'm a fan of World War II, like what? What do you? No, okay. I'm interested in that time, in entertainment made around that time. It's interesting. Anyway. So what are my first impressions of this beta? First impressions. Well, like I said, the movement's good. I enjoyed that a lot. Again, it's like Modern Warfare. I also really love and dig the amount of attachments that you could use on your gun. I really do think that since the time period of being World War II, not having the variety of guns that you would have in modern times or even in the Cold War, to me, it's a necessity, because it makes you be able to change guns, look and appearance a lot more, so you don't feel like you're limited to so many guns. I think that especially when you get more in the actual game, and then what they had in the beta, that it's gonna feel like you have a bigger arsenal than you do now in the beta, which just ended yesterday, by the way. So, I mean, it's good for what it was. It was a good beta. It had like 5 maps, a couple modes, a few modes that switched around. I think the first day it had Blitz, it had Team Deathmatch, all that. They had like a big old playlist. You couldn't customize your character. You could just customize your weapons, which was okay. But it's all going to come down to how the customization of your characters are going to be, if that's even going to be a thing. How far they're going to go into that. I mean, I'm curious how that's going to be affecting gameplay, because if you didn't know about this, I'm telling you right now. As of right now, I don't think that they're going to have any enemy troops in the game. So if you've remembered previous Call of Duties back in Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare 2019, even back in Modern Warfare 2010, I think, or 2007, I can't remember when that came out, but like there was always a good team and a bad team. So back then they would have the Army Rangers versus the Spetsnaz, or the the CIA nowadays versus the Warsaw Pact or the communists or whatever. In this, you just have characters in Team A and Team B, or Team 1 and Team 2. So it's potentially going to be that you are going to be fighting and killing the character that you are using in multiplayer. Potentially, I think, because they didn't have enemy factions, they didn't have enemy characters. They just had a bunch of allied characters, whether they be like a U.S. soldier or like an Australian soldier, Soviet soldier, a freedom fighter, a rebel, but all a part of the ally, effort, just fighting against each other on the battlefield. Now that's good for a beta, but it's like it does get a little bit confusing. Of like, why am I killing this person? Is this guy on my team? Is he not? Because usually I have to look at the when I was playing the beta, I gotta look at the little circle above. If it's green or red for good guy or bad guy. So that was kind of a bit of a problem. I think that it was weird playing a World War II game where you didn't kill any Germans or Japanese people or Imperial Japanese bad guys. It was kind of weird because you just killed like Americans or Australians or Soviets. But it's like, oh, you're the good guys, right? But it's like, okay, But it is a game. It's fine. It's not supposed to. It's not real life, so you can kind of get away with that. But it was odd playing a World War II game where you didn't kill any Germans. It was weird. It was definitely a trip. But also the audio in the game, the beta, is extremely poor. By poor, I mean it was super low. It was very underwhelming for most of the parts. Like they looked like there was a map that was like in like a Japanese island, like with a storm happening and fire and ash, and airplanes flying over, but it was just dead silent. Like nothing. You heard nothing really. The audio for the guns wasn't that impactful. It wasn't that loud. It's actually a very, very quiet beta, which is concerning because the game is coming out on November 22nd, I believe. So you would kind of hope that would be, or not second, but a week before Battlefield, which is November 22nd. And I don't know. I just feel like there's not going to be enough time for them to hopefully, make better audio. So the guns kind of sounded wimpy. And I know that the audio in general was low, but you can still kind of tell like the weapons themselves might not sound very good either. They sounded like BB guns or airsoft guns. They sounded very wimpy. I mean, you go from the powerful sounding of a weapon in Modern Warfare, right, and even in Black Ops Cold War to an extent, to like just a very baby, weak sounding rifle, and you're like, okay, it does take you out of the game a bit. I gotta say, I can't beat around the bush. I can't lie to myself about it. And it's just, it's a big concern. I don't want that to be in the actual game. Hopefully that's, cleared up and cleaned up a bit. But there's only so much that they can do in that time. Let's see what else was there. The game modes were good. I enjoyed the new mode. It's like if you've ever played a hard point, like you got to go capture this spot, and it changes after a minute or so there. It's like that, but the point moves around the map. Like it actually like takes a path, like it's on a track or through the map, around the map, and all that. And you got to go capture it. The enemy team can contest it, and you got to kill the people that are in the zone to gain control. And whoever reaches the score limit at the end of the game wins the game. It's good. It's fun. It's new. Like I said, it's new. I enjoyed it. I think that it's but we just got to see more. I did get very bored of the maps. As with all betas, you kind of get bored of what they already have to offer, like the certain maps, the guns, the modes. You're like, okay, if I played enough, I can move on now. Or I can go back to Warzone or Black Ops or whatever and just play whatever I want to play now. But yeah, it did a good job. It did what a beta was supposed to do, I think. It showed you where they are at with the game. Again, the gameplay for me is solid. It's not the greatest. It definitely could be tweaked up a bit, but I enjoyed it a lot. More than I think my friends did, so I mean that's good. That's good for me, I guess. I do still plan to buy it because I want to play the multiplayer, but I'm also excited and wanting to see more of what they're going to have for Warzone, because again, that they're going to have a new map, with a new, I believe it's going to be running on the Call of Duty Vanguard engine, and then the Verdansk map obviously is going to be running on the Modern Warfare engine from 2019. So they had to make the engines very, very similar for that to keep going, I think, because if they did do that, if they did if they made a new map with the Black Ops Cold War engine, I don't think many people would want to keep playing it. I think that Activision's kind of trapped in this kind of bubble, or trapped behind this fence of, like, so many people love the Modern Warfare engine and how it runs and all that, and they can't really, step away from that, because if they do that, they might lose a lot of players and streamers, and that's not going to be good for them. So they're in a tough pickle. I get it. I understand. Like, I mean, you open up Call of Duty Vanguard and you still got tabs for Black Ops and Modern Warfare and Warzone. It's very, very, it's getting very cluttered. I think they're pushing the limit of that menu and that game selection screen, that if they don't change something, it's just gonna get very, very, very messy and very cluttered. And I don't know. I just feel like they got to change that sooner rather than later. So hopefully they do that. I don't know if they will do it soon, but we'll see. That game's supposed to be coming out soon. Anything else for video games? No, not really. I mean, yesterday they showed some more footage on Halo Infinite. They showed a new map that's going to be deployed with the flight testing. Some of my friends are going to be doing that, so that's going to be cool. I'm going to ask their opinion on it. Maybe if they stream it, I'll see some gameplay. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm excited for Halo still. That's still coming out December 7th, I believe, so that's going to be cool. No more news on Battlefield yet. That's still, for me, a big hit for them. I really, really hope that it's not delayed. Please don't be delayed. That can't happen ever again. I mean, look, with that statement, like I said, if it really was the pandemic, why not put that statement out like earlier? Because the pandemic hasn't ended, right? We're still in it. So I don't know. Just you need to be more descriptive with your announcements and be more interactive with your community. Like I said with the Halo thing, they were very, very descriptive and very informative with their community yesterday with that video. It was very well done. It showed they explained that it might be delayed a little bit, but it might not be. They're working on it. They got a problem, but they were upfront with it. They were saying, like, yeah, we got a problem, we got to fix it, and that they're trying to fix it, and they're being real with the community and the customers. They have to be, because if you're not, then people won't buy your game. They'll lose trust. And like I've been bashing 343 Industries a lot in the past year and a half. But from what I can tell, from what I've seen, I got nothing to bash them on. I got to be honest with you. I mean, like I said, they've been very communicative and very interactive with their community. So I can't talk shit. I really can't. I don't want to. I never want to. But let's be fair. But it's always like there's something that they do that I think that they could do better, or that they just leave their community in the dark, and it's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do except for outrage and complain because you won't help me help you? So help me to help you, and we'll have a good relationship, I think. Video game industry to consumer, fan, community, whatever you want to call me. Oh, thirsty. All right, let's go. Let's move in. By the way, before we get to the NFL, before we get to the week 2 recap, I want to talk to you about my fantasy team. Listen, people, I'm not good at fantasy. I don't think anybody really is. I think it's really all luck. It boils down to just being lucky, I think, because I could have the best team lineup of all time, right? I could have a good lineup. I could have a good team, and they could absolutely shit the bed any week, any given week. And I could have going up against an opponent who doesn't have a good team, doesn't have a good lineup, doesn't have a good anybody, and they can straight out outbeat me. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened last week. I went up with some guy who had Kirk Cousins as their quarterback, and Kirk Cousins actually played well. This person also had Cooper Kupp, who exploded for 32 fantasy points in my league. 32. This guy had Daniel Carlson, who had 17 points in that game. He had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, who got him 19 points. I mean, are you absolutely shitting me? And he also had Travis Kelce, who had 20 points. I mean, Jesus Christ. And you're telling me that I'm going to lose because Tyreek Hill can only get 4 points, Melvin Gordon III can only get 7, Kyle Pitts can only get 9, and fucking Jalen Waddle can only get 5? Like, are you shitting me? This is the whole thing with fantasy football, man. It's all just luck. I mean, I had a pretty good lineup. Decent lineup. Right, I had Russell Wilson, Mike Davis, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Melvin Gordon, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, Matt Prater, and the Washington football team defense. And I got 90 points. This guy gets 142, and I lose the matchup. I mean, it's gutting. I hate it. And there's nothing that I can do about it because, I mean, my team just sucks. They just absolutely suck. I don't know what to do. So going into week 3 of fantasy, I don't even know now. I'm so confused on what I should do. Do I start a good player? And by the way, people, I benched Michael Pittman Jr. I benched that guy, that fool. You know what he got me? He got me 16 points on the bench. How the fuck am I so... I mean, any smart person, anybody with a brain would have benched Michael Pittman Jr. from week 1. And anybody with a brain would have. He was dropped in 96% of Yahoo fantasy leagues. 96% of fantasy leagues on Yahoo. He was dropped. I kept him on my bench, and he got 16 points. What the fuck is happening? I don't know, man. I don't know. Robert Tonyan, after Aaron Rodgers' first game, you should have dropped Aaron Rodgers. Especially with the press conferences, the drama behind all that. Anybody who watches the NFL would have probably dropped Aaron Rodgers and Robert Tonyan. Robert Tonyan, now not by much better than Kyle Pitts, but any better points are better. Any more points are better at this point. Got me 12.7 points. I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm confused. And I'm in a Discord with my league, and then we were chatting on Discord like, yeah, bro, you pretty much did everything right, but your team just got fucking fucked and unlucky. I'm like, yeah, man, it fucking sucks. Meanwhile, again, you started fucking Cooper Kupp got you 32 fucking points. Daniel Carlson with 17. I mean, that was just like, when that happened, I knew it was over. I knew that it was over. Like, the kicker got 17 points? You've got to be kidding me. But that's just the way fantasy works, man. It's never really your fault. It can't be your fault. You're not an actual coach. You're not coaching anybody. It's just you're hoping the players play well. And after Tyreek Hill's monster week 1 game, and then to a measly ass 4 points in week 2, I'm like, shit, man. I'm probably not even going to get a win. I mean, I'm surprised at the people who actually do well in fantasy because, it is basically, or pretty much all luck. Anyway, enough of my crying, enough of my sob, my sorrow. Let's get into week 1 recap. We'll start off with the Rams beating the Colts 27-21. The Colts look pretty good, I got to say. They challenged the Rams, my team, for a bit. I was nervous at times. I was like, Matthew Stafford threw an interception. Didn't look all that great, but Cooper Kupp saved him in the end. Cooper Kupp is very good, man. He's extremely good. He runs routes great. He gets open. He's great after the catch. He's just a very productive receiver. And Carson Wentz went down, sprained both of his ankles, which is kind of miraculous in a bad way because how do you sprain 2 ankles? I'm not sure. I saw him jump to the sideline after one play, and then he just got off, and off that I was like, this guy's got to have like fucking glass ankles. Like, I didn't understand how that happened, but and then they're 0-2, the Rams are 2-1, so it's like if you heard the news on the previous Thursday night game that they're going to follow the Colts mid-season, I think starting like around week 15 in November. I think I could be wrong about that, but like they're going to do a mid-season Hard Knocks. That's already going to be a dub because they're not going to be contending or anything. They're going to be in the dumpster, I would assume, because they no longer have their guy, Carson Wentz, who, to call him your guy is a bit of a stretch, but I think that, who they got left? Sam Ehlinger? Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a good fit. I would say that this midseason Hard Knocks is going to be pretty bad, along with the rest of the Colts season, I got to say. Very, very, I don't know why you would pick them so early in the season, who to follow. It's like, you can't really pick who's going to win the Super Bowl now from the games that we've seen. I know I picked Green Bay and the Bills, but that was before the season. But like now it's like, and if you're going to put together a show to make content, it's like you got to pick you already picked the Colts. It's like, damn, you kind of got unlucky there with this past week. So whoever's going to be riding Hard Knocks and shooting it, good luck to you there. Panthers beat the Saints 26-7. Jameis Winston falls back to reality, and the Panthers defense looks really good. Not a good game for Jameis, and I know that pretty much the entire planet was on Jameis' side in Week 1 because, listen, if you've watched college football, if you know what kind of guy he is back in college and even in the NFL, that dude is just it just looks like a fun guy that you want to be around. Ever since he got into the NFL and even in college. It's a bad look for Jameis, bad look for the Saints. Obviously that they, after the first game with 5 touchdowns with 140 yards and all those completions, you thought that there couldn't be anywhere else to go but up. But obviously, people can hit rock bottom. I'm not saying that this is rock bottom, but people can do worse and not be as productive and not do as well. That's clearly what happened with Jameis and the Saints. But to their credit, the Panthers defense, sorry about that, played very well. They even shut down Alvin Kamara. They made Sean Payton look so confused out there. They looked very confused, and they looked like they couldn't do anything. Jameis was being chased all over the field. It was pretty embarrassing. He threw interceptions. I think he threw 2 interceptions. So we can safely say that Jameis Winston is back. But yeah, it was a bad look for the Saints. Bad look for Jameis. Bad look for Sean Payton, and they made the Panthers look kind of good with Sam Darnold and all them boys. But yeah, that's, they lose 26-7. The Washington football team got beat by the New York Giants 30-29. Taylor Heineke outduels Daniel Jones. If we're thinking people were saying like Daniel Jones is going to be a good quarterback last year, even the year before that he has potential. This beginning of the season, he's looked far from good. He looks very undecisive. He fumbles the ball a lot. He can run pretty decently, but besides that, he doesn't throw the ball all that much, nor that well. He didn't have a very high completion stat. He didn't throw for that many yards when he should. Saquon had one really good run, and that was basically it. I don't know what they're doing there. Are they nervous about him? Are they trying to save him? And if you are, for what? I really think at this point, after we've seen who the Giants are, you got to let them loose. I think you really just got to let Saquon loose and run. No more being ginger, no more being careful. You gotta start winning these games now because you're already down 0-2. So this isn't gonna end well if it keeps continuing, because you only have so much time to put together a season. If it's not gonna be, time is running out. Even though we have a longer season this year, it's just I don't think that you can continue to beat behind the bush and save Saquon and manage his time or his yards or his carries. I really do think that it's either do or die here. You got to get back into this, because if you don't, and if it continues, then it's just going to be the same old. Like, it's just going to be, he's not going to be that much of a, productivity, and it's just going to look bad. That's just how it is now. You got to stop. You can't baby him anymore. It's not gonna work, especially now that you're 0-2. But yeah, that's just what I think about that. The football team looked better. Heineke definitely can play in the NFL. We already know that. We've established that last year. He can play in the NFL. He looked decent. He didn't have the best stats. Some of the balls that he throws look like they're just going to sail off into the sunset. I don't know what that's all about, but they look like they got a lot of I don't know. They carry far. I noticed that, and I was like, oh shit. People were saying that they have a lot of air underneath them, but I had to watch the game to figure out. But I was like, oh yeah, they kind of do, kind of like sail a bit. I don't know. That's kind of weird, but they got the win anyway. They're 1-1. Their defense, which was poor again. They allowed 29 points, which killed me in the end. But what can you ask for? What can you do? You can't really ask for much. I mean, you can't say play better and they'll play better. It's just not how it works. Like, they're not going to play for you just because they're on your fantasy team. That's just, but it's aggravating, man. It's aggravating as fuck because you want them to play well, but you're like, help me, please, help me. I'm trying to win. I was trying to beat this guy. I was like, I can't lose to this guy. I don't want to lose to anybody. But it's like, oh man, this is just gonna keep happening now. It's like how I remembered. It's exactly how I remember. Same old shit. The Raiders beat the Steelers 26-17. Derek Carr looked great. Big Ben looks old. That might be a bit harsh. That might be a bit much in that regards. But I really do think that Big Ben might be having a similar season to Drew Brees having last season. Looked very banged up, looked out of shape, looked slow, looked like he couldn't make a lot of the throws. He was rushed a lot. Wasn't very mobile, couldn't really get the ball out of his hand a couple times. It just looked like he might have been a hindrance to them, kind of. I mean, like, I do think that the Raiders played very well. Their defense played good against the Steelers. Derek Carr obviously was balling. He threw 2 touchdowns with a bunch of yards. One deep ball to Henry Ruggs, the third or the second. I don't know. Henry Ruggs, just a giant, massive bomb to him. It looked amazing. They look very good, very convincing, I would say, even though it is very early. And the Steelers did beat the Bills, but they lost to the Raiders, so I don't even know where to put any of these teams at, honestly. No one really looks all that convincing. Like, nobody looks that convincing. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. That could be good because it's not as predictable, but also bad because you don't know what's going to happen with your fantasy team. Because fantasy this year has got to be super inconsistent. I mean, I'm just going to call it for what it is. I think this year is going to be the most interesting fantasy football season that we've had in quite some time. A lot of people are playing bad when they should be playing good, and people who are normally not that great are playing amazing. So that's that. Good game, good entertaining game. It's fun to see the Raiders win. I feel like a lot of people say the league is a better place when the Raiders are playing good. I tend to agree with that. It feels better. It feels like the league is at peace and competitive and playing well. Now we go to the Cardinals, beat the Vikings 34-33 in a nail-biter, man. That game was amazing. Kirk Cousins finally showed up to play with 3 touchdowns but could not hang on against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. And now, again, the Vikings aren't the greatest team, and I would say neither are the Cardinals, even though they look good in the past, for the first 2 games. But I just think that their ability to stick around with that team, because, listen, anybody can beat anybody in the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody. This isn't college, right? This isn't, Alabama versus Ball State or Wichita State, right? Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday. So I was happy that the Cardinals won. Kyler looks very good. Cliff Kingsbury's getting away with a lot of things that he probably shouldn't be getting away with. We'll see when he faces bigger and better teams along the way when he gets to, you need to win to stay alive. So we'll see about that. But so far, so good. 2-0. The Western divisions, man, AFC and NFC are looking very, very mighty. Whereas the Eastern teams are looking very, very cupcake, very like candy ass, very beatable in certain ways, or in most scenarios. But yeah, that's just that was a good game, entertaining again, and I can't wait to see how Cliff and Kyler adapt to bigger, better, and stronger teams in the future. Ravens beat the Chiefs 36-35. Lamar goes for it on 4th and down and gets his first win against Mahomes and the Chiefs. Again, their first win of the Mahomes-Jackson era. right? This is like being pitched as a new Manning Brady type of matchup when you get these electric, dynamic, fun quarterbacks that are so good at their game and like the best player on their team. Mahomes and his arm and his ability to scramble and just create plays and throw the bomb, throw the sidearm, throw the dart, throw the laser, throw anything and help his team win. And then you got Lamar who can throw the deep ball, who can chuck the deep pass and get that little, that dime pass, but also is just a absolute speed demon. He can be faster than any of those cornerbacks. Sometimes he actually is, and it's actually kind of scary. But yeah, it was a great game. That was the Sunday night game. It was a nail biter again, and it went to over. Did it go? I can't remember. But it was very good, very entertaining. Again, a lot of the primetime games have been very, very good recently, except for the Rams and the Bears. If you wanted a competitive game, but they're all very, very good. I'm actually very surprised right now. Like usually the primetime games in some cases can be absolute duds, but these ones weren't duds. So it's been very good. Again, very entertaining and just fun to watch. And if you're an NFL fan, you got to be loving life right now because it's awesome. It really is awesome. Let's see. We're moving on. We got the last one I'll talk a lot about is the Packers beat the Lions 35-17. Aaron Rodgers wakes up from the criticism, wakes up from the media, wakes up and actually performs like Aaron Rodgers. Jared Goff had a good first half, but couldn't keep up with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And Aaron Jones is everybody's fantasy hero. Aaron Jones just blew up this game, man. If you had Aaron Jones, which I knew somebody in our league did have, if you had him, he did you massive, massive favors, man. That guy was all over the place, throwing the ball, running the ball, or catching the ball, running the ball. That dude was everywhere. And like again, if you had him, Jesus, man, you got some ton of points. Let me try to find it. Aaron Jones, he rushed 17 attempts, 67 yards, and 1 touchdown, but he got a bunch of touchdowns thrown to him, I think. Let's see. Yeah, he got 3 receiving touchdowns for 48 yards, which, is going to kill anybody in fantasy. But yeah, good game. He's back. The Lions did look very threatening in the first half. Like I did say, they had a good first half. Like Jared Goff played well in the first half. It started to rain, and then he fumbled the snap, then he threw an interception, and then it was like, okay, we're back to Jared Goff reality. Like, he played good in the first half, and then everybody was like, is Jared Goff actually good? I was seeing tweets like, it was Sean McVay holding Jared Goff back? And then the second half came in, and then Rodgers was like, okay, yeah, I'm Aaron Rodgers. I can play in the rain. Watch this. And then they just smoked him 35-17. It's like, okay, well, that wasn't much of a threat anyway. But you know what you could have, what you noticed, though, was some of the urgency on the Detroit side when it came to like managing the clock and what time was left, because I easily thought that they could have scored. I thought that they could have scored easily on some possession, like with 4 minutes left, but they just really didn't, take care of the ball or manage their time all that well. And it was just kind of like, oh, it's like a very rookie mistake there. It's like a very, first year coaching mistake, which Dan Campbell is on the Lions, who's their head coach, their first time head coach. And, that's going to happen. They look competitive though, which is a good sign. The last thing you want is just a team to roll over, like to just not even try. And for the past couple years, the Lions were that team, right? They didn't look very competitive. They didn't look like they wanted to win, really. They didn't look like they even tried all that hard. But at least we can say this year and this season, they look like they're actually trying, putting in some effort to actually try to beat these teams. Because if they did win against the Packers, we would have been talking about like, oh, depending how they won, what if Rodgers sucked again? What if he actually was playing really bad? That narrative of him trying to take down the Packers from the inside would have just grown even bigger. But since he played well and the entire team played well, that's all kind of been forgotten. Like it is just like, but it is also, like he said, just one game. Like we played one good game and one bad game. You just got to keep going, which I'm all for. I always love when a player can, take all the things into perspective and see, like, you got to just go one day, 1 week at a time, one game at a time, because that's all you can really do. You have to beat the team that is in front of you in order to achieve your goal. And if that goal is for them to the Super Bowl this year, which I know that it is, especially with Aaron Rodgers and that entire team, but especially with them, that's got to be their number one goal, their number one thing on their mind. We got to get to the Super Bowl, because last year we had our shot, but we fucked up in the end. And it's do or die, A little bit more honorable mentions, not really too much more. Mac Jones looked better than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson threw 4 picks. Mac Jones kind of just tossed the ball here and there for them to win. Not a hugely stellar performance, but decent. What else? The Cowboys won a really bad game against the Chargers. The Titans beat the Seahawks in overtime, which was kind of astonishing because they weren't playing all that well, and Seahawks looked like they were going to win it, but they ended up losing it. The Texans lost to the Browns, but were competitive with it. Davis Mills looked pretty good. Tyrod Taylor's out with a hamstring injury. Baker Mayfield looked decent. Let's see. Bengals lost to the Bears. Justin Fields is now going to be the starter for the Bears, which is going to be interesting. The 49ers beat the Eagles. They will be playing the Cowboys on next Sunday night, I believe, or next Monday night, which is going to be interesting. We'll be getting Dak Prescott versus Jalen Hurts. The Bills stomped and swept the Dolphins 35-0. No surprise there. Dolphins are now without Tua, and Josh Allen woke up, so that's good. It was a bit, concerning last game, and I was just like, okay, what's happening with the Bills now? But Josh Allen went 17 for 33, 179 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Not his best ever, but, got the job done. Like I said, the Patriots beat the Jets 25-6. Broncos beat the Jaguars 23-13. Again, there was that quote that I tweeted on yesterday about, I quote tweeted Vic Fangio quoting Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was talking to him before the game, saying that it's like playing Alabama every year, but it's like, brother, this is the NFL. Every other team is better than Alabama by a long shot. You're kind of fucking making it seem like it's college when it's not. I fucking hate when the teams or coaches do that from college. It's like, bro, you're so out of it. You don't know what you're talking about. You're playing a better team every week that's even better than Alabama. Shut the fuck up. Not to be mean or anything, but it's just like, dude, this guy's just not going to be good. I just know he's not going to be good in the league. And yeah, that is it. That is all for this week in the NFL, and that is it for this week on this episode of this podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you all for watching. You can find this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. This comes out on every Thursday morning. And remember to rate and review, subscribe, follow, retweet, tweet, whatever you want, comment, like it, whatever, star it, rate it, whatever. I appreciate all that, and I will see you guys next week.